2 words, Revo Fitness. Here's a few more. Simple, 24/7, reformer Pilates, body scanners, massage chairs, squat racks, free weights, pin and plate loaded equipment, no lock-in contracts, no bullshit. All of that and more from just $9.69 a week. That's surprisingly affordable. Join now at Revo Fitness Windsor Gardens or download the Revo Fitness app. RevoFitness.com.au or find the Revo Fitness app in the App Store.
The Nathan, Nat and Shaun podcast.
We're excited by this guest. Now, the psychology of serial killers and why they captivate us is coming to Australia. Thursday, May 29, playing the Astor Theatre. You can get your tickets now from tegdainty.com. The host is Dr. Rachel Toles, who joins us now from South Carolina. She is an expert in serial killers, and we're here for it. Hello, Rachel.
Morning.
Hello. Hi. I'm actually right now in Indianapolis, Indiana, because I'm on my second U.S. tour, the psychology of murderers. So I was talking about the everyman versus the serial killer. So, but I'm not in South Carolina at this moment.
Okay, great.
But hi, nice to meet everyone.
Yeah, you too. Now, we are all on board. I love nothing more than listening to a true crime podcast. And it does seem to be a bit of an affliction for middle-aged white women that we really do get into this stuff, don't we? That, statistically, that's true.
Statistically, yes. I mean, I've always said, certainly for the last year, I've been known to say that, women love true crime the way men love pornography. I mean, it's just the way it is. I mean, men love to talk about sex, women love to talk about murder. That's because, while men spend their lives scanning for sexual conquest, us women spend our lives scanning to avoid getting murdered.
Shaun, over to you.
True. And so,
wow.
Yes.
That is amazing. Hey, on that, Dr. Toles, you just mentioned a lot of the people that we see are men who are serial killers. Is there many women over that we know?
Great question. So I'll give you some stats.
Okay.
One of the stats, just to know, fun stats that a lot of people who aren't American love, and again, Americans love to be number one, but so they're okay with this sometimes. But 65% of all serial killers come from the U.S., and the second highest percentage for country, like the country with the second highest most, is England, and they come in at 3.4%. So that just gives you an idea of how many serial killers are in the U.S. It's just so I've got a chart, so when whoever comes to the show, they're going to get to see the full chart from the serial killer database of all the different countries.
But why?
And,
that's a significant...
I'm not going to tell you where Australia is.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's very significant. So when it comes to males and females, there are stats. So about 92 to 93% of all serial killers are males, and then so that makes about 7% female. However, of that 7%, over 1/3 of them have a male accomplice.
Right. Okay.
So that tells you it's very rare. And so when women kill, they're very practical about it typically. They want to get the job done. The only time, for the most part, that women are ever sadistic in their kills is if they have a male accomplice, because they know that it gets him off, because the sadism comes in when it's the male killer, unless, it's a wife that you've really done her wrong and she's going to, maybe torture you a bit. But otherwise, typically, the sadism is left out with females.
All right, you really know yourself.
Wow.
Dr. Toles, just on that, what contributes to the making of a serial killer? And maybe mention what's happening in the US that's putting that percentage so high.
Oh, my gosh. Well, the great question. So I've come to find, as I'm going to really at length get into in the show, that there are 9 cumulative factors that always make a serial killer, and not in any particular order. And I go through those factors. And the U.S., I think, first of all, when I get into those 9 factors, I'm going to also be talking about culture. And if you think about cultural things, I mean, the U.S. has a fetishization when it comes to the individual, big time, the American hero. And what it means is very black and white thinking. And then you've got the fetishization of guns, which as a Canadian, I would love if they just, I know you can never get it. You'll never be able to take away their guns. But the number one weapon of choice of serial killers is a handgun. A lot of people think it's strangulation. It's actually a handgun.
Yeah. So the ease, the ease of a weapon and being able to procure that makes it easier.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's those two factors.
Yes.
But and it's a lot of black and white thinking. And just if you're not the best, then you're the worst. And so now we, of course, are seeing way more mass shooting.
Yes.
And so the idea, these kids that are coming with these guns, they're like, I got to be somebody special. And I'm going to have to go out with a bang, then at least I'll be someone special.
Yeah.
And it's like, we've got to talk about what that psychology is.
For sure.
Most definitely. Dr. Toles, you'd be aware that Perth had a serial killer that's now in jail. And I'm interested, and this happens a lot with serial killers, in that when they've taken the lives of a lot of people, they don't necessarily admit to every crime. And even if they're in jail, even if they're in jail and they're on death row or stuff, they seem to take information to their grave, and it doesn't help, the families that want to know what happened to their loved ones. Why is that?
That's right. It always depends on the killer. And so, for example, Jeffrey Dahmer, the minute that he was caught, was incredibly transparent about all of his kills. If it hadn't been for his transparency, and he was pretty much right off the bat, they didn't have to get it out of him. He's like, look, I did all these things, and had he not been so transparent, more than half of the 17 men that he killed no one would have ever known what happened to them. He was like, oh yeah, there's the one out in 1978. So that's a rarity, but some of them start to kind of, even you'll take the other extreme where they go overboard, but they start kind of like, it's like the Boston Strangler, for example, someone that right now they're trying to figure out, did he actually kill all 13 women that he said he killed, or is he taking credit? Because a lot of them, once they become a serial killer, they want the higher numbers. Then to your question, why is it that they withhold? Sometimes it's just for that last bit of, I have the power, and I'm not going to give it up because I'm, and some of it is, there might be some shame, believe it or not, to admitting these things. It just depends, because these people actually have feelings too. A lot of people think they've just got these dead shark eyes and they have no feelings. They absolutely have feelings. They just are better at compartmentalizing really severe things. All humans can compartmentalize, but the way, obviously, if you kill someone, typically you're going to be feeling. Most people feel a certain way about it, and if they've done it, it's like go off to war, even though that's very different. When the soldiers come back from war, they've had to compartmentalize their feelings about it. And so it's complicated, but I think we're very good at thinking that people who murder suddenly are feelingless monsters. And I believe it or not, I point out the ways in which they're actually human. It doesn't excuse the crime, but I really examine the why and the how did they get there, because that to me is our best shot at preventing these things.
Sure. We were talking about this earlier, Rachel, about who out of us would be most likely to be a serial killer, because and the thing about a good one, and Ted Bundy is probably a really good example of this. Very charming. People that knew him well never suspected, and they use their charm and their good looks to get by. So we think it's probably Ross, because he's a very nice person. Whereas Sean and I, we've got we show our dark hearts. We're not hiding it. So is it the ones that aren't? You don't necessarily get a creepy vibe from a serial killer, do you?
Rosses of the world.
Well, see, this is the other thing. So I think Hollywood has done a really good job of painting, the American psycho and even Hannibal Lecter, these evil geniuses, and most of them, I think their IQs, the average IQ of a serial killer is about 90, 91. Like, it's not super high, but you've got the odd ones that are really smart. I mean, Ted Bundy, great example. I think his IQ was like 130 something, so he was pretty high up there. Jeffrey Dahmer was 145. So you have some that are higher up there, but for the most part, I think what's interesting about what happened with Ted Bundy, and I think this is what freaked everybody out, is that before Ted Bundy happened, serial killers were really viewed more like Ed Gein, who is the butcher of Plainfield, who Norman Bates from Psycho was based on him, along with Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and of course Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. They're all based on this one man named Ed Gein, the butcher of Plainfield, or there's a guy named Jerry Brudos, who's the shoe fetish slayer. And these are guys who, before Ted Bundy came on, people just assumed they're kind of ghoulish, they're kind of creepy, and all that kind of stuff. But then Ted Bundy came along, and he changed the whole world of serial killing. And then, of course, John Gacy, too. John Wayne Gacy's another one, because both of those guys came along. And John Gacy, while he's known as the killer clown, he was this pillar of his community. Everybody thought he was the nicest guy. And Ted Bundy was, he was having plenty of sex with women, and he was able to, it's not like he was upset that he couldn't get it. He was able, women were kind of throwing themselves at him, but he still had the urge to kill. And yet he had this other side of him that was perfectly reasonable, able to become a lawyer, just all the things. They were able to blend. And I think that's what really freaks people out the most is that it's the ones that are able to blend. But again, if you listen to your body, because I know somebody whose mother went on a date with Ted Bundy, and she just talked about like the fact that she knew something was off.
Wow.
And she listened to her body, and she got the heck out of there. And had she not, so I always tell, I go on about this in the show, but just like what you can do if you think you might be on a date with a serial killer, how to keep yourself safe. I kind of give those tips as well.
This is good to know, good stuff to know. It's worth coming to your show for that alone.
Yes. Well, I hope you guys, when you come, please introduce yourselves. I can't wait to meet you in person.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Toles, before I let you go, I wanted to know that, because you read some stuff, it seems to be a lot of operational, I'm not sure if that's operational serial killers still active in the US. Do you have a number of what that may be?
Yes. So right now, from what I understand, I can't give you an official number, but I'll just tell you the FBI are likely hunting around 30 to 40, 45.
Oh,
yeah, right now.
The real heyday was the 70s and 80s, though, before DNA, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. The golden era of serial killing was the 70s. The peak of serial killing was 1981.
Golden era.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, the golden era. Yeah.
We could talk to you all day.
I know. You're so interesting.
Well, I'm so glad to have talked to you, and please come to the show. And I can't wait to, like I said, meet you in person. And I think you will find that you're gonna learn a lot. I promise you. You're gonna leave there seeing serial killers through a whole other lens.
Oh, extraordinary. Okay, The Psychology of Serial Killers and Why They Captivate Us, hosted by Dr. Rachel Toles, who we've just been talking to, comes to the Astor Theatre Thursday, May 29. Tickets at tegdainty.com. Rachel, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been such a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you in Australia.
All right, we're going to have nightmares, but thank you.
This is the Nathan, Nat and Shaun podcast.
2 words, Revo Fitness. Here's a few more. Simple, 24/7, reformer Pilates, body scanners, massage chairs, squat racks, free weights, pin and plate loaded equipment, no lock-in contracts, no bullshit. All of that and more from just $9.69 a week. That's surprisingly affordable. Join now at Revo Fitness Windsor Gardens or download the Revo Fitness app, revofitness.com.au, or find the Revo Fitness app in the App Store.
Special guest has arrived. The voice of a generation, star of Sister Act the musical, Casey Donovan.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
How are you, Case?
I'm very, very well, thank you. It's great to be back in Perth.
I know.
Yeah.
This is a great show. It's up and about, isn't it? Great music.
Very much. Great music. Alan Menken, you can't fault it. It's such a great, fun, uplifting, joyful musical, and playing Dolores Van Cartier has been an absolute dream, and I'm just excited to bring it to Perth and finish hard and strong.
Sister Act, obviously, we were talking about you having to dress as a nun, and have you had a situation where you dress as a nun but you're not in doing your job?
Show. Yeah. Look, we do lots of media for the show, so I've been out the front of churches in Adelaide. I've walked through the halls of the Crown here on Anzac Day and did a little spread in front of a bar, and there were patrons going, "Should nuns be in a bar?" And we're like, oh, bless you, bless you.
I mean, body of Christ, right, Shaun?
Amen. I say straight away, Natalie.
Exactly.
Hey, Case, this movie came out in 1992, like so long ago, but it just keeps giving, Sister Act. But you talked about the music just a second ago, so it's been redone or remodeled a little bit?
It has. So Alan Menken has penned all of the music along with the lyricist Glenn Slater, and they've made this beautiful, fabulous disco 70s music which kind of projects the show in storytelling, and that's what a musical does. And I know a lot of people come to the show and like, but it's not the songs from the movie, and we know they're better. We've got songs like Bless Our Show, we've got Dolores's opening number, Fabulous Baby. You get these beautiful intonations of disco and ballad that all meet together and project the story, and musicals are about telling stories, and as we like to do, we break out into song. Alan Menken's music is certainly singing its way through the show, but it's a story we know and love. Dolores, sees her mob boyfriend murder someone, and then she gets put into a convent, and she's got to deal with, not eating, and they eat mutton And Dolores is like,
lamb,
mutton.
What the hell is mutton?
Old sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah, old sheep.
sheep.
You have really reinvented yourself as a musical theatre star, haven't you?
I have.
mean, we all knew and fell in love with you, on Idol, and then. But I saw you in Anne Juliet when you played the nurse, and you were so good in that role.
Thank you.
So good. Are you loving musical theatre? Is this where you want to be for a long time now?
Look, I do love musical theatre, and it's just been such a great achievement in life to kind of open new doors and step into new characters.
Yeah.
And playing a role like Angelique was such a fun role to be in, a show that, had so many positive points about life and where we are in today's world, and kind
was
of
joy. That was a joyous show,
and
yes.
it was just full of hope and love. And I've loved stepping into musical theatre and playing different characters and learning from amazing people. I play alongside Rhonda Birchmore and Genevieve Lemon, who are just strong, witty, funny, professional women that just stand in their power, and I love that I get to learn from them day after day.
So what's the difference for you doing musical theatre? Because it's very different to just being a singer, isn't
very
it?
different. Pulling on a character and then just stepping out as me.
Yeah.
Casey can stumble and fall and, make crass jokes and, kind of break the fourth wall whenever she wants.
Yes.
But when you're playing a character, you're standing and, you've got a responsibility to, everyone's kind of, you're literally just catching hot potatoes everywhere because, there's lots of moving parts, and missing a line can sometimes miss a lighting cue, and that's kind of like a domino effect. So there's a lot of responsibility when playing characters, but it's also about having fun and just enjoying yourself. And I find that really hard. I was just saying to our publicist on the car on the way here, I'm like, I'm finally having fun.
Yeah,
it's
great.
the last 4 weeks, and you kind of, when you're coming to the end of a run, it's like all of the work we've been doing for the last 8-9 months is come to a head now, and we're all just.
And it's muscle memory now.
Enjoying
that's
myself,
right.
and I'm like, oh wow, why couldn't I do this in Sydney? But look, it's great to be finishing up in Perth, and I cannot, suggest or recommend highly enough to get your tickets and come on down.
Well, you sell it perfectly, mate, because you can hear the passion in your voice talking about it, which is fantastic in its own right. I want to know, because it's night after night, and I guess you're recovering all the time as well, but do you get to do anything in your downtime when you're in various cities, or is it just really concentrating on what's going on?
Look, it's a bit of both. It's a double-edged sword, because at the moment I'm vocally and physically tired. And you can hear it in my voice, and I'm like, how do I keep peppy? But, we are elite athletes. We're doing this 8 times a week, and, there's special things that we have to do, like vocal warm-ups and keeping ourselves healthy to get on stage and do that thing. We're doing the same thing each night. And, when you look at rugby players or AFL players, you get hit in different parts of your body, and, you get to work on different parts. But when you're doing musical theatre, you're doing the same exercise, the same, picking up the same pen, bending at the same thing. There's a part where I get down on stage and my knee goes crack every night on cue. But, it's all about looking after your body and, going and doing your physical therapies and, keeping that maintenance up and, resting when you can. And I think a lot of people forget that musical theatre people are human people.
What?
And I know. And, we get fatigued, and, I have to have nights off sometimes where, I'm just physically exhausted.
Yes.
And I get people texting me going, I've spent all this money to come and see you. And I was like, I'm so sorry. We can't actually let you know when we're not on stage. Like,
And also, if I had performed tonight, you would have been disappointed because I couldn't deliver on it.
Well, I would have been disappointed in myself. It's that thing where I sit at home and I have panic attacks, having to call in and have a night off, because I'm like, I'm letting people down, but I'm also like, well, if I don't listen to my body, me having one night off means. If I don't take that, I've got to take a week off.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
and it should be noted, the alternates in all of these songs are unbelievable performers.
Lifesavers. Unbelievable performers. And that's the thing in musical theatre world is we support each other. And when our understudies get to go on, that is their moment and that is their character. And there's this big thing in theatre world where it's like, that's my character. My Dolores Van Cartier is, when I'm on for her, that's what I get to do. But when someone else gets to put on her dress and her disco shoes, it's a beautiful thing, and it's that support and that supporting our peers and celebrating them, and I think that's really important.
You're incredibly
that's great.
Passionate about it all. We were talking about off air your vocal warmer.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to? Because I imagine it'd be very specific for maybe each person. Would you be willing to share a vocal warm-up?
Look,
you do?
they're never pretty, and I always say, I wish I played an instrument because you could play it quietly unless you're, a horn in the horn section, which I feel like I am some days. But I don't, look, there's certain things. So I used to do lip trills, like, but that's no longer helpful for my role in this show.
Oh, okay.
So it kind of ebbs and flows and changes.
Depending on the role.
Yeah, because you're using different parts of your muscle.
So this time you start off with a quick prayer?
Well, yes, a quick prayer, coffee and some hydration and water. But I do this thing where I stick my tongue out. It's like a tongue out TH. So you... But you don't bite on your tongue, and you raise the back of your tongue so the sound is coming over the back of your tongue.
You
and
raise
out
the back
through,
of your tongue?
Yeah, so when you do a TH, when you go, you'll feel the sound. So if you hear is at the back of my mouth, instead of going, that's a front sound. So is a back.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
I know, my ears aren't attuned to this.
No, you can feel it. You do feel it,
So you feel it. And also I do it now. I'm bringing up...
Everybody's doing it in their car right now.
Yeah. Or you do your trumpet. So a trumpet is really, really good. So...
That's fun.
Really? This is interesting. You were talking about as an athlete case, and you're making sense. So someone would have, you do a warm up as people do when you see them on the oval. They're doing all the various things. They have their sports science and conditioning coaches. So do you have someone who has taught you all this stuff beforehand?
Look, yes and no. I've just picked up things along the way. I've also got a singing coach who I use, Dane Shelflin, who's in the UK, who I got put on by someone else. We have speech pathologists, ENTs, sometimes you can't...
get a throat massage?
Well, you also can get physical therapy, so you can actually get a vocal release, which releases all your muscles around your vocal cords, which then you cannot sing that night. It's not right because you've released all your muscles. Yes, it's like you take the training wheels off your bike and then you try and sing and because everything's so loose. We've got conditioning coaches as well. I mean, but they come in different forms, and it's all those little things where you can't see our vocal injuries, where you see people on the field and they've got their head strapped or their ankle.
They're limping,
You can't see when you've injured your vocal cords unless you've got a scope going in to your nose or mouth.
Yes.
So it's, the importance of sharing that knowledge and letting people know that bodies get tired, but there are ways in which we can, I always get told, Casey, your 60% is as good as your 100. I was like, I don't know how to do 60%.
Yes. It's all or nothing.
It's all or nothing.
There's no jogging. It's all running.
It's all about that. It is hard work, but it is such rewarding work when you get to work and people are smiling, and we don't know what people are going through in their days.
That's right.
And it's just, we are that escapism in the music world where you just come, you watch a beautiful show, you have a great night, and you go home and go, that was really good.
Sean's gone. He had a plane to catch. We'll catch up with him tomorrow when he is home from Bali. But we do have the star of Sister Act the Musical, Casey Donovan, joining us right now. sisteractthemusical.com.au is where you can get your tickets. It's playing Crown Theatre until May 25th, limited season, and this is it.
This is it.
This is the last little stint of it.
This is the button, as we like to call it.
Just doing, that's great.
And we're just talking off air because I asked more about these throat massages.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you were saying they grab your tongue.
Yeah.
They put their thumb in your mouth.
Yeah.
They hit the neck with the...
There's a lot of muscles and things in there that we use. So when you're singing and dancing and doing all these things, you're using every muscle and bone
your
in your
equivalent
body.
of hip flexors, really,
Literally,
isn't it?
yeah. So, you're doing all these things and hinging, and you do jaw release, tongue release, throat release, chest release, all your muscles in your chest and your pecs. I've got to stretch out my chest, so I'd lay on a rollie for a good 5 minutes and just stretch everything out to open everything.
So that's to get lung capacity so you can really belt out the big notes.
Always.
And you're saying throat massage is not pleasurable?
No, not
At what point did you start doing all of this stuff? Because obviously you wouldn't have been doing this when you were a kid.
No, because other people said, hey, have you had a vocal release? I was like, what is that? And then
what
go
are you
and get
talking
one.
about?
Oh my gosh, this changed my life.
Yeah. So did you, when the first time you had it, did you notice a noticeable difference in the way that you could really?
Yeah, it was just, it's amazing how much tension you hold in your body.
Yes.
And when it gets released, you're like, oh, that's what they mean by if you just breathe this way, it'll do this thing.
Yes.
But when you're living life, stressed, but it is literally like taking the training wheels off and just going, oh my gosh, this is I forgot how to ride a bike.
Now, speaking of riding a bike, you just told us that this is how you're getting around. Perth, basically, is on an e-bike. Is that right?
I am. I'm one of those people on an e-bike, but I love it.
Don't say one of those people because I've got an e-bike too.
I just love it.
It's so because I live on a hill, and so that last little stretch on the way home, it's like, I don't even feel it.
No.
And you're only on level 1, right? So you do. It's mainly you.
It's mainly me.
Just a little bit of e-bike.
Just a little bit of e-bike. You know, I still like to ride a bike. It's like I still drive a manual car because I still like to drive a car until the day they're like, they drive themselves and like, well,
Okay.
I'm just a passenger. So yeah, me and my fiance ride to work, and you know, it's a really nice way to also see Perth.
Yes.
It's very beautiful. You know, you've got the river and the lake.
And because Crown's right there on the river, like it is actually a really beautiful way to do it.
Apart from I got caught in the footy crowd the other night.
Oh yeah.
I was like, oh gosh, I forgot. I thought
you're
the
like,
game was
"Out
still
the way."
going. I was like, excuse me, bing, bing, bing,
None
bing.
coming through.
No, I actually had to turn the power off and just kind of stable platform. But look, it was great, and it's always lovely to see a lot of people getting out there and enjoying the world, and I love that.
Just don't get in your way when you're on your e-bike, please.
Yeah, look, it was a bit tricky. I was using my core, but we got there in the end.
Ducking and weaving through the crowd. Well, thank you so much for coming in
Thank
today.
you
It's
for
been an
having me.
absolute joy.
Yeah.
And as Shaun said before he scooted off, he said it is just great to see somebody like you speaking with such passion about what they do. It is clear that you're in a great phase of your career. You're very successful. You're very good at what you're doing, but you're also loving it.
I love it. And, you know, what is it? I don't even know what the saying is.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what I...
Love what you do
Love
and
what
you
you
never
do.
work a day in
Never
your
work a
life.
day. There you go.
And, yeah, clearly.
Still early for me.
Yeah. Yeah, we're finishing work. Go and see Casey and Sister Act the musical. Tickets from sisteractthemusical.com.au, and it's a limited season. It must end on May 25th. Check it out. Thank you, Casey.
Thank you, Kate.
Nathan, Nat and Shaun is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcasts.com.au.
2 words, Revo Fitness. Here's a few more. Simple, 24/7, reformer Pilates, body scanners, massage chairs, squat racks, free weights, pin and plate loaded equipment, no lock-in contracts, no bullshit. All of that and more from just $9.69 a week. That's surprisingly affordable. Join now at Revo Fitness Windsor Gardens or download the Revo Fitness app. RevoFitness.com.au or find the Revo Fitness app in the App Store.